Alright guys, last day in Hollywood with the hills for your pleasure, and back to New York City tomorrow, so I'll have something fun for you there. But so getting out of Laguna Beach 2 nights ago, thinking what was most profound for the doctors in attendance at the patient mastery training, and what can I share with you, because there's a bunch of doctors who really had very little exposure to my material. They weren't in the program, they've seen some of my videos, seen some of my content, and realized, wow, this makes sense compared to what's happening, you know, in chiropractic today, with the amount of skepticism, all the old strategies that don't work, all the coaching and practice management where it's like trying to teach old dogs new tricks. You've got to evolve. The market's evolving, society's evolving. If you think patients aren't coming into you, having been to 1, 2, or 3 other chiropractors before, all recommending very different things, different exams, different philosophies, different education, different techniques, you're kidding yourself. And if you think doing the age-old strategies from 1987 and 1997 are going to work like they did in 1997, they don't. And that's why you may be thinking, wait, I'm doing the same exact thing. It's not just that insurance is declining and that's why it doesn't work. It's because your patients are coming into you with a different perception, a different kind of skepticism, a different experience, a different expectation. And especially when they're paying out of pocket, there's never been more cost consciousness in society than now, at least over the past bunch of years. So one of the strategies I teach all the time, and let's focus on just for the cash-based patient, maybe they have a huge deductible, or you don't accept insurance, or they don't have any insurance whatsoever, that's becoming more and more prevalent. And you can choose to get sucked in to the stereotypical chiropractic paradigm of everything has to be analyzed and a number associated with it, and think that the only way you can really create revenue and income is patients coming, more visits per week, more visits per month or year. And how do you do that? Higher PVA, more number of visits in a care plan, and patients coming in more and more often over time. See, if you're stuck in that mentality, when it used to be really easy, if insurance covered everything, you didn't charge them a copay and just had them keep coming back, that was a really easy, beautiful model to have a thriving, profitable practice. And that worked really well in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. And maybe if you're super lucky in your state right now, you're still getting away from it, or getting away with it. Otherwise, you better be getting away from it. So how could you recommend care that makes it easier for people to want to invest in you, understand, tell other people about, and it just makes more sense? And it overrides the natural skepticism that they have, either from past experiences or all the social media, all the normal media, garbage and BS that's put out there about chiropractors. So let's say one of your typical recommendations is for a certain type of case, to get them the results they're looking for and to stabilize their condition and maybe fully resolved, is 3 months of care. How many of you right now are attaching a set number of visits to that 3 months of care, whether it's 22, 30, 36, or more? The second you attach a set number of visits to a length of care, and it's more than 8 visits or 10 visits, maybe I'll give you 10, you're raising red flags in every patient's mind. And you've got to overcome that, which you may, and because they're in pain and because they just want to get well and get relief and get this fixed, they'll start care. But if they have red flags and they did it anyway, they are not referring, guaranteed. Because the majority of referrals come right when someone starts up with you, because they're most enthusiastic and inspired and excited for what you had to share and to tell other people about you. But just because they started care with you doesn't mean they're going to tell other people about you if they didn't feel inspired and 100% congruent with the care you recommended. And when you recommend more than 8 to 10 visits, and I'm not saying people don't need or deserve more than 8 or 10 visits, but when you recommend it, it immediately raises red flags, because pretty much no other doctor needs to see a patient more than 8 or 10 times for a condition. So what do you do instead? And this is what docs 20, 25, 32 years in practice When they saw me share this, like, Josh, that was so profound. You think they haven't been with tons of coaches since then? So really be careful, because it's very hard to teach old dogs new tricks. And I'm not talking about chiropractors, I'm talking about everything that's being put out there today. Be very, very careful if they're preaching the same thing as they were 5 years ago, let alone 20 years ago. You know, if it's just how many screenings, how many talks, how much money you can spend on marketing, how much you can educate, how much you can hit people over the head with education, is that the kind of practice you want? So, you're still with me. Mary, we're gonna work together for 3 months and I'm gonna see you 36 times to not only get you relief as quickly as possible, but to fully resolve this issue. Everything sounded great, except the second you said 36 times, you will never, ever, ever get a referral from that patient. No one will refer in someone else if they are told they have to come 36 times. And I don't know of any chiropractor, especially the best ones, who know without a shadow of a doubt how many visits a patient needs or what their frequency should be after a few weeks or a month or maybe a month and a half. So yeah, I went there, and I don't know anyone that could challenge me in philosophical chiropractic. So what if you just said, Mary, we're gonna work together for 3 months. You're gonna start seeing initial relief, and by the end I expect you to have 80 to 100% resolution of this so it's gone and doesn't come back. And it doesn't mean you're never gonna see them again. It doesn't mean that's all chiropractic is for, but that's all they could hear at that moment when they're in pain, when they're nervous and anxious and in a sympathetic nervous system state and a psychological state. Because they've got an issue they can't figure out on their own, and they didn't come to you to learn another paradigm of health, which they may through care and through a relationship and through your videos and through talks and through reactivations, and all that's great. But initially, you've got to be able to understand where they're coming from. And when you attach a set number of visits, immediately red flags and BS meters go up in their mind, and it is a lot more convincing to get them to sign on. And if they do, you're not going to get referrals. So, you know, be very, very careful. There's a lot of stuff out there that's very salesy, 100% scripted, and then you got to be a robot your whole career in practice. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of pressure, fear, coercion, and stuff that you would never ever say to a family member, and it's really awkward when someone you know in the community comes into your practice because what you're taught to say. You're better than that. And if you're watching this, if you resonate with what I have to share, you're definitely better than that. Don't do that, drop it. And then the last part, if you think you have to put a set number of visits because that's what'll have people comply and understand, and be very careful when I share this, I'm not talking about a membership practice, pay X amount and come as much as you want. Absolutely not. You are 100% in charge of their care protocol, of their frequency, of their visits, of their schedule. You're just not predicting with pretty much no validity whatsoever how many total visits they need. And what's beautiful about it is that you can charge the same amount as you would have charged with your set number of made up visits. And you know what's great? When people are getting better and they don't need that much frequency by the second half, you're making the same amount. They're not having to come in as often. They're happy because they're not having to come in as often because they're getting the results. They weren't guaranteed or told 36 visits, so they're not thinking, wait, I just finished and it was 29 visits and I was supposed to have 36. They were never told that from the beginning, so you just made 7 visits of profitability. Instead of bending over someone, you could have either had more time, like less hours in practice for the same revenue, or filled that time with other new patients. So in the same amount of hours, you're making a lot more money without even having to necessarily adjust more people. So you realize it's actually possible to have a practice where your volume goes down, your income goes up, you don't need more new patients, you don't need to spend more money on marketing or more energy, you're 100% congruent with your recommendations, it makes more sense to your patients, they refer more, they like it more. And did I mention your income and revenue goes up because there's no more overhead involved anywhere? There's no salesy scripts. You're not saying anything you're not congruent with. Like, there is no negative to this. That's one little piece I teach. So be very, very careful if you're thinking all old dogs can learn new tricks. And what you're doing in practice and thinking, why isn't it working? It's not just that insurance is declining. That's a huge factor. But how are you getting over it? Are you getting over it by being more aggressive and heavier and selling more timeshares? Or are you getting over it by being a lot smarter, a lot savvier in practice, and a lot more powerful in practice from a standpoint where patients want what you have to offer, want to tell other people about you? So think about whatever your cash plans are right now. I don't care the rate, I don't care how long they are. Just erase the number of total visits. I know, you have 1,000 questions that come up. Every single one, if you asked it for, if it was a set number of visits, it's the same answer. Oh, a patient moves to Australia halfway through. Oh, a patient goes on vacation for 2 weeks. A patient wants to end early. Every answer is the same as if it was a set visit number plan. Watch how quickly patients say yes, pay you, refer, stay with you, and it's just such a better experience for you and them. And there's a ton more little benefits that make a huge deal and how great practice feels that I haven't even mentioned, but that's all you have to do. Erase it on your sheet. Yeah, the back office will freak out because now they can't calculate what your per visit compensation is. You know what? It doesn't matter anymore. You can make a lot more money, help more people, create a better perception in your community, and you just have to give up not knowing what your per visit rate is. Yeah, you can still calculate it, but it's again one of those stats that sabotage you and make no difference in how happy and successful you are in practice. So really, spend 3 minutes with your eyes closed visualizing just doing everything except naming the total number of visits. And think about how much easier and better practice can get for the cash paying patient. I hope this made a difference for you. The next patient mastery training will be in Miami, January 20th and 21st. There will be a DC mindset mastery training the day before, Friday, January 19th. You want to find out more info, go to patientmastery.com. You want to reach out, send me a message through here. I'll see it. I'll respond unless it's stupid. And I mean stupid like not genuine. And this is such a small little tweak that will make all the difference in practice. And that's why those docs 25, 30 years in practice like Josh, it's the littlest thing and it's so effing profound, and I can't wait to start doing this because they see how quickly the conversions are going to get easier, the revenue and the profitability is going to go up, and they can be 100% congruent with everything they're doing and saying. That's what I love bringing to chiropractors. That's what I love bringing to a profession that so sorely needs it. So sorely needs it. Why do you think there's skepticism in the most natural, effective healing modality out there? Why do you think there's so much skepticism? Why do you think insurance is pulled out? Because of all the garbage that's happened over the past mostly 30 years. You can be above that. It doesn't take anything from switching a few things up here and a few things that come out of your mouth. Just makes sense. That's what I want for you, and that's what I want for great chiropractors. And I know if you're watching this, you resonate with it, so I want you to have it. I will see you guys soon, probably not again from Hollywood, so there are the hills for you. Appreciate everything you do. Stay focused, be great, and be great for your patients this week. See you soon.